Welcome, everybody. This is Scott, Vegas Horse Pool. I'm here with my buddy Fats. He's on Twitter at underscore real underscore Fats. We're here to talk about a couple of games and what would Fats do. And at the end, I'm going to give you a couple spank odds tips, just like we always try to do. And we'll also get to talk about Nebraska because they've got a big game on Friday. Fats, what games are you wanting to talk about today?
Well, there's one game that caught my eye this week, and it's not that I have a play on it, but it's a very interesting game, and that's game 362, Ohio State and Maryland. And Pinnacle's just taken 3 dimes on this game, and they're basically sitting at 20. But Circa and 411 are both taking 20,000, and one of them is using 19 and a half, and the other is using 20 and a half, and the rest of the world pretty much is settled in at 20. So, I mean, this is basically a pissing contest between Circa and 411 in the sense that, they're each expressing an opinion to one side based on whatever action they're receiving. And Chris is indicating that, hey, they think the money might be coming the dog, so they're willing to take a big bet on the favorite. And Circa's saying, hey, we're getting hit with the favorite. Now, maybe that's because they're in a casino, so they're getting more touristy type of action that likes to bet the favorites, and maybe that's why they're a little higher. But they're saying, hey, we wouldn't mind taking a nice big chunk on the dog. So, and everybody else is kind of just sitting neutral at 20. And I don't really have an opinion either way to go with that game. If I were to go with the 20 and a half, I might buy it to 21 just in case it starts to come back the other way and I'd have to bail. At least I'd have a good number working for me. But Circa actually charges an extra 15 cents on all their buys, so I wouldn't be able to do it there anyway. But if it were somewhere else, that might be how I would play that. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you, next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to give you guys a tip on how to spot what a mirror is and how to spot it. And a mirror is a regular book that you might have, but that mirror is actually using the lines at either 411 or penny or similar, a similar sharp book. And so, in other words, a lot of times if you're watching, if you know that you have a mirror and you see something you want to bet pop up at Sports 411 or penny, you can just log into your appropriate mirror and bet it without having an account at Sports 411 or penny. Now I'm going to show you one that's on the Dimebest screen, and if you don't have it, it's called Diamond Sportsbook S. And Diamond Sportsbook S mirrors the Pinnacle line. And if you look to game 315, 316 on Friday, you'll see that 411 has 11 and a half and Circa has 10 and a half. But lo and behold, Penny has 12. And where's the only other 12 in the world? Well, it's right there at DSBS. And the only reason why they're minus $1.03 at 12 and Pinnacle is even money at 12 is because Pinnacle runs a 14-cent line. So they're about 3 cents off on either side of the juice. So Pinnacle's reduced juice, and that's why there's a difference of 3 cents. So in order to spot, the best way to spot a mirror or find a mirror is if you find a game like this where you've got a book that has a number that nobody else has, it's not even close, like 10 and a half, 11 and a half, 12, and you can find another book that has that 12, most likely if you check the rest of the lines at that book, they're going to be a mirror to that 12. And the same would work at for example, if you have going back to the game we were talking about, it's possible if you've got a 19 and a half on the Ohio State game, it's possible you have a Chris mirror or a 411 sports 411 mirror. So that's how you spot a mirror when you see a number that's kind of a little off the beaten path at one of the sharp places, and then you run into the exact same off number or at one of your local places that you play, then it's likely that they're mirroring the one book, and then you technically, without necessarily having an account at Sports 411, you now actually have access to bet the lines that you see, or Pinnacle for that matter. And if you an example, right now, Florida State game 339 and 40 just moved. It just moved a few pennies at Pinnacle. Just went from 23.5 minus 13 to 23.5 minus 14. But at the same time, DSBS went from 23.5 minus 16 to 23.5 minus 17. So they moved Penny moved a penny, they moved a penny. So that's the other lesson that I had for you today, was how to spot a mirror. And it's something that can be valuable in your ongoing pursuit of learning how to read the screen and interpret the information you're seeing on there.
That sounds really good. The one tip that I want to give you about Spank Odds here, and if you look, we have all 4 of these books here: Pinnacle Alternate 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way you don't have to go to the Pinnacle line and look those up yourself. You can see the Pinnacle alternate lines in Spank Odds without doing any of that work. And as I talked about earlier in the week, go into columns, go into bookies. We've been adding more and more books all the time, and there's going to be a couple more coming next week, it looks like. You might want to check that out and make sure all your favorite books have been added. The other Spank Odds question that I'm getting a lot of right now is, with everybody doing the upgrade this week, right here along the top, you're going to see in red, it says, go to spankodds.com to upgrade your membership. If you're currently deciding to go with a free membership, you can completely, utterly ignore this message. You will automatically be downgraded to a free membership. Your profile will be deleted. You'll have to set your books up every time you log on and that kind of things with a 5-minute delay. But if you actually want to save your profile, all you have to do is go to that website that they talked about here. Let's see if I can pull it up. And it is spankodds.com, and just click on the button that says purchase. Purchase Spank Odds. It'll tell you what every one of these links or what every one of these levels gives you, and then all you have to do is click the box that you want. Again, if you want to stay with the free, you're good. Nothing you have to do. But there is the 5-minute delay, the 2-minute delay, and for the professionals, the real-time book odds. That's about all we have this week. Fats, or anything else you want to close with, or are we good?
No, that's it. That's it for me. And sorry we didn't have a show last week, but it got a little hectic. So
yeah, it's been really hectic with
all
the background stuff going on with Spank Odds. Definitely true.
But we don't want to, if I've got something or I have a lesson I can give you towards helping you be better at reading the screen, I'll try and get in here with at least one game to talk about and at least throw a lesson in.
Oh, I do. I have one question here. A buddy of mine asked me to bring it up in case we don't get a show put out tomorrow with the activity we have. He wanted you to talk a little bit about this Kansas City game. Do you see anything? I know the Kansas City game is pretty solid here at a 3.5. Is there anything you see on this Kansas City Minnesota game?
Well, it's a pretty solid 3.5. I mean, you're looking at all those Pinnacle alternate lines, so they're different.
Right.
But if you look everywhere else, it's pretty solid 3.5. There's no real edge to doing anything with this game at this point when it's just a solid 3.5. This is the kind of game you sit back at the end of it's an early. No, that's a late game. So you sit back late, and if you got any players on your fantasy team on either one of these two teams, you just sit back and root them in.
And this is not a game you would use in Survivor for the circuit contest this week, right? You'd want to jump up here with the Dolphins. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, the Dolphins, for purposes of Survivor, obviously, if you haven't used the Dolphins yet, this is not a bad spot for them. A lot of people that haven't used them probably will use them. So if you lose with them, you will go down. You will go down with a big ship probably. As far as the other games this week, the Lions, a lot of people might take the Lions this week because they don't want to be in the big group with the Dolphins, but the Lions is another team that they're capable of a clunker. The only thing about Carolina is Carolina plays great every week until they get to about the fourth quarter, and then they fall apart like a cheap suit. So you're always I guess you're always in it if you're against Carolina. And
that sounds good.
But Carolina does have a live defense, so things can happen there.
Well, it sounds like that's the phone call to end the recording. What do you think?
All right, that's good. I already hung up on it, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, I just want to remind everybody, if I am doing your proxy work, please get your picks in by 7 p.m. on Friday. I've already got a few people putting them in early because they want to play that Thursday night game. But that's all for us this week. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Eddie.